I'd like to call the Personnel, Administration and Higher Education Committee to order, and I think we have a quorum. Welcome everyone here.
Yeah, I just don't know about.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from January's meeting? Moved by Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Runyon. Let's call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Privilege of the floor and public comment. Anyone wishing to address the committee? Seeing no one, the action agenda. The first item up is the SUNY Adirondack representative for an update on the college, and welcome President Duffy.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Just a couple quick updates from the college. So of course, spring semester, we're almost in our midterms, which is hard to believe, and things are moving along nicely. And as we always are, we're always working one semester or two semesters ahead of that. So we're tracking our fall applications, and we still are tracking ahead when we compare year to year in terms of some strong application numbers for the fall. We begin registration for summer and fall starting in the next few weeks, and particularly for fall.
Excuse me, Doctor.
No problem. And so we'll be tracking that as we go along, but we're pleased to see, again, an uptick in interest in SUNY Adirondack, not only, of course, from our service area, but from areas outside of our counties. The synthetic turf field that you've heard about is in use. The baseball team has started practicing on it a few weeks ago, and the softball group will be using it as well. And the baseball team is supposed to have their first home game this weekend. So I'm not sure with 15 inches of predicted snow whether that's going to happen. But needless to say, it's been a great addition to the campus, and we'll be inviting all of you to a ribbon cutting event on May 4th. For those who are Star Wars fans, yes, that's May the 4th be with you day, but it'll be an exciting day for Adirondack, and we will be extending that invitation to all of you so you can come and check out this fantastic asset for not only the college, but as importantly for the community. Our budget advocacy efforts continue, and I appreciate the board passing the resolution at your last meeting to just continue to advocate for the state to add funding into our budget for next year, add to the floor that is identified in the executive budget, and probably equally, if not more importantly, to remove language in the executive budget that calls for a 20% holdback of community college funding in waiting for a plan of some sort from SUNY about how community colleges can operate without the state funding model that's in place, which is obviously concerning to us. Holding back any funds, state, just as you know, holding back any state aid has ripple effects, including things like payroll. So we want to make sure that at least holding back funds is not part of the final budget. We're happy to participate in a planning effort to continue to think of ways to fund community colleges that's appropriate, but holding back 20% of our funding doesn't seem like a fair thing to do, especially since we're the only sector in SUNY or CUNY that's being asked to do this. And then I understand that at your last supervisors meeting, there were some questions that were raised in terms of the new SUNY general education requirements. So I thought I'd just take a minute to kind of walk you through what that really means. And I did invite our Vice President for Academic Affairs, John Jablonski, here today to fill in any blanks that I may miss. But just to give you some context, SUNY General Education Framework has been in place since 1999. So this is not new to have a set of courses that no matter what campus you go to throughout the 64 SUNY campus system, students are meeting 10 general education knowledge and skills areas. So this is nothing new, but like any good institution of higher ed, we continue to evolve with the times. And so in 2017, conversations were starting about, is it time to update those general education requirements across the system? And in 2021, the SUNY Board of Trustees approved some modifications in the general education requirements. So it's not new to have general education. And in fact, the reason that SUNY came up with its framework back in 1999 was to standardize those general education knowledge and skills areas so that students could seamlessly transfer, particularly from the associate level to the baccalaureate level, without losing credit or time, which is, of course, really important for our students. So there are 10, again, these are called knowledge and skills areas in the general education framework. What's new this year is a rework of one of the requirements to focus on learning outcomes related to diversity, equity, and inclusion and social justice. To be clear, there's not a course that's called DEISJ. There's no specific course. The way these general education requirements work and have always worked is there are a set of learning outcomes that SUNY and the faculty across the system agree to. And then individual campuses look at their courses to determine how do our existing courses in many cases, and in most cases, meet those learning outcomes so that students have a variety of options to choose from in order to meet those general education requirements. So for example, and I want to make sure I got my cheat notes here. The 10 subject areas are basic communication, so, reading and writing, mathematics, U.S. history and civic engagement, world history and global awareness, world languages, social sciences, humanities, the arts, natural sciences, and diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice. So as this was approved by the SUNY Board of Trustees, all SUNY campuses were then charged with going back to their faculty, looking at their curriculum to determine which courses fall into those categories. Again, you look at learning outcomes and determine what courses do we have that help meet those learning outcomes. And in Adirondac's case, we've been very focused on looking what existing courses, not adding new courses, not adding credits to students' programs. There's no new addition in terms of cost or time to degree, and looking at what existing courses we have to meet that new requirement, the DEISJ. So things like Introduction to Sociology, which is a common course that has been part of our general education requirements for years. Anthropology, American history. There's a course in literature that meet the DEISJ requirements. So I just wanted to be clear that this is not a new course. It's a skill area that we think is important for our SUNY graduates to be able to work and live in a very complex and diverse society. And so the spirit of it is to really acknowledge that we live in a increasingly diverse society, and we need to understand some historical context and ensure that we're creating citizens that are welcoming and inclusive of people of all different backgrounds and experiences. So that's what the general education framework looks like. As I said, for Adirondack, we're not adding any new courses, so there's no new expense to the college. It's just simply making sure that the courses that we already offer, several options within each of those 10 categories are available to students, and clearly identify those so that students can meet those requirements, not only for our degree programs, but when they transfer to a SUNY institution across the state. So happy to answer any questions about that, and if that clarifies some of the conversation.
Any questions for Dr. Duffy? Yes, Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, Dr. Duffy. I was at the student center yesterday working for about an hour and a half, and I was aware of all the different types of services, coaches, and stuff that the college has in place to work with students, not just on their studies, but also in balancing family and studies, balancing work and studies, balancing mental health related issues and studies, and those types of opportunities help students succeed. And, so that helps contribute to our investment when those opportunities are available to individuals.
Thank you. And I'm glad you brought that up. One of the enrollment trends that we're really excited about, both in the fall semester and this spring semester, is that we're seeing more and more students stay than we've had in the past. In other words, our retention of our students has improved, which when you talk about enrollment, for anyone that's in business, you know that keeping your customers is equally, if not more important sometimes than attracting new customers. And so part of that is because we have really worked hard to develop many different support services for our students, recognizing that many of our students, not everyone comes with the same experiences and the same resources. So being able to provide varying services to create more equitable outcomes for students is really important to us. And we're starting to see the results of that, which is really great.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Administrator Daffler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just like to talk a little bit about the 20% that Dr. Duffy mentioned, the 20% holdback at NISAC this past week. No one who I talked to, and I certainly don't understand it either, completely understands exactly what has to be done to overcome that or what the requirements are for SUNY. But on Tuesday, Governor Hochul appointed Robert Magna as the new budget director, who has a strong background in higher ed, working with SUNY in the past. And everyone believed that as a positive step towards helping to resolve some of the SUNY funding issues. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Supervisor Beatty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'm concerned too with the state cutting back and pulling back. And I feel that we can't expect Warren County residents to pick up that slack, because we've been huge supporters of SUNY Adirondack, huge supporters. But there's a limit to anything, right? And as we all know, so if the state cuts back or withholds funds, I hope you're not going to come to the county and ask that we fill that already on the tax burden in the backs of the county taxpayers. I hope that doesn't happen. That's a state issue. You've got to work that out with the state. We'll advocate for you, but I can't support asking Warren County residents to pick up the slack that the state won't do or fulfill their responsibilities. So I'm sure you understand that. Thank you. Thank you.
Supervisor McDevitt.
May I ask Supervisor Bruno a question?
Sure, I guess.
We brought up an issue at our last meeting. Okay, help me with that issue, since the good doctor is here, and then we can candidly talk about.
No, we can. I was going to talk to her offline, so to speak. But since you brought it up,
Supervisor Bruno.
mandate or requirement now that all students in the SUNY system is what, 62 colleges, whatever, 64, that they take a course in diversity, equity, inclusion, and whatever the other letter is, it's an alphabet soup. Take this course and pass it as a prerequisite or requisite to getting a diploma or degree. My problem with that is, if you want to teach that course as an elective, I'm not against it, and I fully support the college. But to require that as a requisite to getting your degree or your diploma just goes against my personal views. Can you comment on that?
That's what I was trying to describe here. So maybe let me just start from the beginning. So there are 10 areas of general education requirements for all SUNY students in a variety of categories. And the new category that you're describing is diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice. Within that category, there are several different courses that already exist that meet that requirement. And, the spirit of it is to ensure that, we're acknowledging that our world has changed over the past 30 years when the last time the general education requirements were created, that we live in a much more diverse society, whether it's here in Warren County, certainly throughout New York and throughout the country. And so we want to make sure that our SUNY graduates are prepared to be global citizens and be able to be understanding of various backgrounds, various types of diversity. I think sometimes when the word diversity is used, we tend to jump right to race. And although that's important, there's all kinds of diversity. There's abilities, there's different income levels, there's all kinds of structural things that we want to help our students understand. So I want to be clear that it's not a course called DEISJ, which I think is sometimes confusing. It's not an additional course that adds to the student's expense or even to the taxpayer's expense. And as I was describing, what we've done at Adirondack, as the faculty have reviewed the learning outcomes that are expected from this knowledge area, we've looked at our existing courses only to determine how they meet those requirements. We've been able to identify, probably 10 or so different courses that already exist, things like Intro to Sociology, American History, anthropology, things that have already existed and quite frankly have existed for quite some time.
So you're telling me that these are going to satisfy that requirement?
Correct. Yep.
Not the way I understood it
Yep.
or understand it, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. That's why I'm here to help.
Thank you, Dr.
Anyone else? Mr. Bruno or Mr. McGowan, I'm sorry.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to reach out and thank Dr. Duffy. But my counterparts, Supervisor McDevitt and Supervisor Bruno, had my concerns, and you explained it. I got it much better the second time around. So I was just not in favor of having that cram down any of the students' throats, and the pressure, because, having the learning disabilities I've had, growing up, being forced to do something that wasn't my forte made things very difficult. So, but since it's already in the curriculum and you do take that, they know it, and it's not being forced, but I understand the changes and the needs. So thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
In high school, we didn't discuss, when my brother and younger sister. High schools and.
Okay, number 2 is requests and items to be discussed by the Human Resource Director, Jackie Figueroa. And the first item is a review of the report of the tracking of vacancies filled. That's in your packet. Any questions on the vacancy filled report? Okay. We'll move to part B, and that is a request to authorize the Warren County Treasurer's Office to administer the New York State Voluntary Defined Contribution Plan as mandated by New York State.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Driscoll, seconded by Supervisor Runyon. What exactly is
Yes.
Well,
How about it?
you probably know more about it than I do, but. Good morning. Basically back, and correct me on the year, Jackie, when did it start? 13?
13.
13. Okay. The state created an alternative retirement system for certain brackets of employees that hadn't worked for the county, came in at certain income levels, and set up a system of how it's all supposed to be administered. And we're in the process now of taking care of that. And one of the things that needs to be done is my department needs to have the authorization to administer certain phases of this program. And basically what it is, it's like well, I hate to use the term, but it's kind of like a 401k type of thing where you can put money in the state works with it. It's for higher income people that come to work for the county without any previous experience or retirement, state retirement options. But I got it pretty close.
Looks like you already had the authorization if it's mandated by New York State.
Well, yeah, but there's certain programs within it that as far as, because there's a special type of bank account that we have to set up for this. And there's special deductions and format that we have to do. And in order to make it correct, they're requesting that we do this.
Okay.
But I agree with you, Frank.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call the question on 2B. All in favor? Aye, opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Anything else from Human Resources? Okay, number 3 is requests and items to be discussed by the county attorney, Mr. Elman.
Thank you. I'm going to start with 3B. It's the home rule request for Warren County to move forward with an extension from the state legislature for the additional mortgage recording tax. We did the first part back in January, which was a resolution to the legislature asking them to prepare bills. Bills have now been prepared to extend that 25 cent per $100 additional mortgage tax. But they need a resolution from our Board of Supervisors prior to bringing those two bills to the floor. So everybody's on the same page going forward. What will happen, hopefully, is that the state legislature, once they receive this resolution from the board after our March meeting, will pass the two bills. At that point, we'll be notified and in a position to move forward with an amendment to the existing local law, which will further extend the additional mortgage tax past its current lapse date, which is December 1st of 2023. So I commend and thank Senator Steck's office for contacting us in December. This was certainly something on our radar, but they've been a great partner in making sure we get this done efficiently and as quickly as possible, so the state has as much time as possible to take the steps they need to pass the bill. So subject to any questions, that's the resolution that we're seeking.
Okay, would somebody like to bring this forward? Supervisor Driscoll, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Driscoll.
This is a issue that all counties will be taking up. Or just,
No, that maybe would be the correct
Okay.
legal answer. Warren County and every county has the ability to impose an additional mortgage recording tax under the state statute. Warren County has done that for a significant number of years, but it's an authorization that has to be done through this home rule process, which requires the state to pass legislation. And we only are authorized either 2 or 3 year extensions at a time. I've asked for a 3-year extension. The last extension was for 2 years. And some members may remember there was a lapse in the collection for a period of time on this. We started this in December, 12 months in advance, to make sure there would be as little possibility of a lapse as we could as the county ensure. So this is something the county has done. My recommendation is we continue to do it. It's an important source of funds to the county. And this resolution is just the second of 3 steps the county will take in order to continue and extend the collection period for this mortgage recording tax.
Yes,
and
Mr. Driscoll.
the numbers, excuse me, the numbers again were 25 cents on.
It's 25 cents per $100 of mortgage of mortgage amount on a mortgage that's being filed.
Supervisor Beatty.
Yeah, I'll be voting no on this. I'm not a big fan of always adding taxes. I know we've done this in the past, the county has, and it's a source of revenue for the county, but I think we overtax the citizens now. So, adding this tax again looking for a 3-year extension of this tax, even though we've done it for the last 6 years. I'm not in favor of that. You know, we're trying to encourage people to move into the county. We're trying to encourage this. And then we say, oh, by the way, you're gonna get another tax on top of buying the home. You're gonna get paid with an additional mortgage tax, which is surprising because some counties don't have this at all. Some have it even bigger in the state, but some have none. No mortgage recording tax. So I can't, you know, we're overtaxing the people it is now, so I'm going to be voting no on this.
Just so there's no misunderstanding with the committee, at least since 2008, Warren County has had this tax in place. So it's more about 15 years, and it may have been before that. The original authorization was back in 99. There was a change in the statute and I think the Constitution around 2007, which is why the 2008 number is the current number that we're amending from. But this could have been over 20 years. Number two, the last 2 years, the amount of revenue that's come in is give or take about $1.3 million. And if the treasurer can just kind of confirm for me, it's not the exact, but $1.3 million a year. And again, it's a tax that's being placed on the filing of a mortgage and the amount of that mortgage. It's not a direct, I don't want to classify it, but it's not a property tax per se that's hitting a taxpayer every year like our property taxes do. It's a limited additional percentage on top of the other portions that are mandated by state statute that comes to Warren County.
I can just clarify if I can.
Yes.
So the person that is essentially buying a piece of property and goes out there and gets a mortgage is the person that's really paying for the ability to secure a mortgage. It's not a general tax on the residents of Warren County.
With this local law in place, it works out to be a 1.25% tax on the value of the mortgage. That first 1% some goes to the state, some goes to the towns, a portion comes to the county. This is what they refer to on the filing form as the additional mortgage tax, which takes it from 1% to 1.25% of the amount of the mortgage, excluding the first $10,000 if it's a 1-family or a 2-family home. So it gets real technical and complex. It's the state of New York, it's taxation. I wouldn't expect anything less. But as a general rule of thumb, it's about 0.25%. It's 25 cents on $100 on the amount of a mortgage.
Just make one more comment or observation. This issue came up recently when we got into a committee discussion and the mayor of the city, as well as Carmen, who heads up the Albany transportation system, and Scott Spacek was here, who heads up the Glens Falls Transportation Authority, and they want to ensure that we have a quality, fully functional and secure transportation system for the public transportation system for the residents of our county. So that issue was brought up in that discussion as in terms of a mechanism of attempting to fund that. So the trade-off and the balance is, we consider utilizing some of this revenue to fund, a transportation system for the next 50 years. And the ramifications of that are significant in terms of employment, employees, employers. And John, I don't know if you could add any more clarity to what I just said.
Well, I guess with the greatest deference to the supervisor to Glens Falls, I really want to avoid mixing those two issues.
Okay, yeah.
Because the issue that's in this resolution request has absolutely nothing to do
Okay.
with the issue was in front of the Economic Development committee.
Yes.
And I'm concerned that if we start blending the discussion, there's going to be confusion about what this is that's in front of us. I believe that the question that's being presented by the supervisor is on the agenda for the finance committee meeting.
Okay.
And again, it's a completely unrelated issue in question from this resolution.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate your understanding of that.
Mr. Beatty.
A final comment. So the town, the county already charges 1% mortgage tax. The county is looking to add another 0.25 to that. So 1.25. And again, yeah, I know it's been in place 15, 20 years. That doesn't make it right in my mind. Overtaxing people who want to buy homes in Warren County, I think is, we're all screaming, hey, we want people to come. Oh, by the way, we're going to hit you with an additional tax for coming on your mortgage tax. So just to let you know, the state's going to get you for 1%, which we get a cut, but we're going to go on top of that for an additional 0.25%. I just think it's a wrong message. And whether it's $1 million or whether it's $10 or whether it's $10 million, it's irrelevant. The fact of the matter is we're overtaxing people to buy homes in Warren County, in my opinion. This is an additional, as it says, additional mortgage recording tax. Just to record your mortgage, we're going to hit you with another additional tax. So I'm strongly against this.
Okay. Any other discussion by the committee? Hearing none, and I'm going to call the question on 3B. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Carried.
What's
next?
For the items 3A and 3C, I would ask the committee or a member of the committee to make a motion for executive session. And the basis for the executive session on item 3A would be under Public Officers Law 105 1F to discuss matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person. And for purposes of item 3C, it would be under the same statute, subsection D, which is discussions regarding current litigation. And I would ask as part of that motion that the county personnel officer and human resources director, as well as the assistant county administrator, be permitted to stay in for the discussion.
We have a motion by Supervisor Driscoll and a second by Supervisor Frazier, as stated by the county attorney. All in favor of executive session?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,